Hello, beautiful human. I am so glad you're here. And I just wanted to take a minute to tell you what this training is about. So, there's two things, but the first thing is going to be a little overview on why I created this nervous system toolkit, what it feels like to have activation in your body, and then how you can know, oh, yeah, this is me, and how you can start to stop it and rewire those neural networks starting today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview and how to use this guide. And then I'm going to give you a demo on bilateral stimulation. And so I will dive a little bit more into that in just a little bit. So the nervous system toolkit. So let me just tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do. I'm Farron Zanakis. I do manifestation with neuroscience, meaning that I believe that we can have anything that we desire if we actually have our brain and body on board for us to allow ourselves to experience it. Neuroscience is just the study of how the brain and the body communicate. So our nervous system. I mostly deal with neuropsychology and neuroplasticity, but I also have a background in learning about, the nerves and, the different parts of the brain and how they interact. But for this training and for what I do, we're just going to stick with the nervous system part and the brain body connection. Okay. So for years, so let me just back up by saying that I went through a lot of trauma when I was young. And so I think it's really easy to basically be like, oh, yeah, the reason I feel like this, the reason I have anxiety, the reason I deal with panic, the reason I feel so activated, or the reason I'm in a rush all the time is because I had trauma. Or maybe you're like, I just have anxiety and I panic and I feel like I'm in a rush all the time and don't have the connection that, you have trauma. It can be both ways, right? And let me be very clear here. I'm not just talking about big T trauma. So big T trauma is going to be like war, death, um, you know, um, those types of very big, very traumatic things, right? We all experience small T trauma every day in our lives. And I've actually done sessions with my clients where they went back to a memory that they had when they were, 2 or 3 years old of them crying and their mom putting them down to do something. And that for some reason that their brain, like the sensation and the energy got stuck in their body, but their brain interpreted that sensation as abandonment, right? Have you ever seen Inside Out? Like that's a really good way to describe it. We process millions of bits of data per second in our brain, and we are consistently experiencing and indexing information, and that information doesn't just go away, it gets indexed, right? So I want to just start by saying, even if you haven't had big T trauma like I have, it doesn't mean that you've never had a traumatic experience. And the truth is that it manifests in your body the same way. So let me start by saying, if you get overwhelmed, if you go into freeze, if you deal with anxiety, if you deal with depression, if you deal with um, I'm trying to think of more things, or like always being in a rush. That's another one. So basically, anytime you ever feel very activated in your body, that is a trauma response. That is your brain perceiving something as a threat and your body responding to it, right? So I just want to show you that that's how it feels like. So if any of you ever experience this and like you're like me and tend to be kind of hard on yourself, let's just like take a minute to say, it's not me, it's my cute little brain and my cute little body and how it perceives what's happening in my brain. I just want you to take that off the table, that you're creating it or that you're doing anything wrong. We've all experienced small T trauma in our modern day lives. We don't have the nutritional support, and we also don't have the somatic support or the work that I do, or even the therapeutic support to process all of our emotions and the sensations that we experience every day in the body, right? So just letting you know, and this shows up in your business a lot of times, is like start stop, like doing really well and then like ghosting, or feeling overwhelmed and going into freeze, right? So these are all things that we experience all the time. And so let me tell you a story about how it happened for me, right? So I have been really lucky to be extremely successful with how start and stop I am on social media, and not in my business. I'm always kind of, networking in the background, because that's probably the number one thing people hire me when they talk to me or they hear me on a podcast or they see me on an IG live. So I'm always kind of talking with people about my work, but I tend to start and stop on my social media. And that for me was very much tracking brought back to this activation in my body where I would get so activated in my body and then I would go into overwhelm and then I would go into freeze mode. And for years and years and years, no matter how much work I did on myself, it would still happen. So basically, I started thinking, I didn't have the data on it yet, but I started thinking there's another piece of the puzzle that I'm missing. And basically, what happened was I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. I say diagnosed because I don't take anything like that as an end all. I said no, I don't. I don't think that this is what I have forever, and I refuse to believe that, and I will keep searching until I find a way where I can heal myself, right? And whether or not you believe that, I just want to tell you my story, right? So, anyways, I have a background in like research. So I do a lot of researching. And basically, what I realize is that there's a difference between being activated in your body and activated in your brain. A lot of times, our doctors don't even know the difference. They're just giving us medication based on anxiety, when really, I guess, like maybe a psychologist or a psychiatrist might define it being more in your body, more panic disorder. But either way, I knew that there was something else going on. So, what happened for me is I ended up tracking it. Mine ended up being cyclical. So, basically, before my cycle, I would get these crazy intense like anxiety, depression for about 3 days. I couldn't even function. Like I couldn't even respond to a text message because I felt so overwhelmed and I couldn't even put into words how to articulate how I was feeling. Like it just felt so overwhelming. And then I would go into freeze mode and then I would kind of burn my business to the ground, right? And listen, I'm not saying this is how it shows up for you. I'm just telling you how it showed up for me. But ironically, this diagnosis with ulcerative colitis, which is what I was diagnosed with, also ended up being cyclical, which ulcerative colitis is not cyclical. So I knew there was a connection. And I literally just researched and researched and researched until I figured out that I started following some people on Instagram, which they're in this video. Or in this video, in this nervous system toolkit, the people that I followed, and basically they are diagnosticians. I don't even know if I'm saying that word right, where, they do that and they do nutritional therapy. And some of them have a background as, doing other types of medicine. And basically what I realized is that I was lacking just micronutrients. So for me, I started taking a supplement. It's also in the guide. And just taking that one supplement literally changed everything and allowed me to go deeper in the work that I do, whether it's bilateral stimulation or tapping or this deeper dive work that I do with my clients around, and I use that to help people heal while attracting in and holding more money. Because I believe in my world that we get to heal while having the life that we desire, the money we desire, the lifestyle we desire, the love we desire. I just so happen to work with money, but it's all the same process, right? And so basically what happened for me is I became more regulated. And when things would overwhelm me or trigger me, I could feel my body wanting to respond because that's a neural network thing, but I just wouldn't respond because I was so regulated. So then I could go deeper and dive deeper into this deeper work that I do. And it actually get me to where I wanted to go faster, right? So basically this toolkit is about the things that I've done, whether it is having a hair tissue mineral analysis with one of these practitioners, or taking a supplement, or even dealing with things like an acupressure mat, which if you tend to live in your head, making sure that you get into your body and out of your head. This is really about learning how to come back to your body, feeling at home in your body so you can listen to your own wisdom and your own intuition about what's right for you and about how like the best and path of least resistance to get the money and hold on to that money, right? Like it's all about giving you your power back. And that starts with us being regulated. And by regulated, I don't mean we're going to be neutral all the time. I mean that our nervous system knows how to go into like the right response at the right time, right? So a regulated nervous system actually looks more like this, right? So while I don't do the nutritional therapist side, me working with a nutritional therapist changed everything for me. So I wanted to give you guys that information. So basically, this is a list of tools and trainings and things that I did that helped me regulate my nervous system, that allowed me to actually go faster in my business. Because guys, if you want to go fast, slow down. The trick with getting to where you want to be is holding the duality of being radically okay with where you are while setting the intention and striving to be And maybe striving isn't even the right word, because it's not, this is not from a push. We're not forcing it. It's, I'm radically okay with where I am while still setting the intention of where I want to go. Right. So basically, what this is going to put us, like, well, what this is opening up to is me showing you how to do bilateral stimulation. So bilateral stimulation is, this is the midline of your body. And so basically when we get really, so this is if you're dealing with anxiety, panic disorder, being too much in your head, overthinking, overwhelmed, this will stop it in its tracks, because that, those patterns are isolated in one part of the brain. And when we activate both parts of our brain, we can't actually be activated or overwhelmed or stressed out or anxious or anything while we're doing bilateral stimulation. So start with this first. This tool will allow you to slow yourself down, calm yourself down, to get enough space for you to even be like, why am I in this? What is causing this? What is going on? Right? So it's really simple. This is the center, and all you do is just this, making sure, sorry, let me, sorry if I can do this a little bit better. So literally just this, right? And just making sure that each arm is crossing over the midline. And guys, your nervous system really loves things that are, like, what am I trying to say? Like rhythmic. That's why we rock babies, right? So the more rhythmic you can be, the better. And then try to think of something that's been making you anxious or stressed out. You can't. You cannot be anxious or stressed when you're doing this. So this is the first step into getting the space of being like, why am I triggered? Why am I stressed? Why am I anxious? Why do I feel overwhelmed? Then the next part of this is going to be my tapping training. My tapping training will actually teach you how to actually tap on different parts. And guys, listen, if you've done EFT before, that's amazing. But I do it very, very differently. And I have pages of people that talk about the way I teach tapping is the first time that they've ever been to been able to use tapping successfully. So if you've tried EFT before, which is like just tapping in different points, please try my training, because my training is mindfully cultivated to make sure that everybody can do it and see results from it, and that you know how to do it at home on yourself. So then once you've used bilateral stimulation to kind of give yourself some space and calm down and kind of come back to center, then you can start tapping on that sensation, and it will start moving through your body and processing. And if you tap on it every day for a week, it'll actually just integrate. It just gets to be that easy. The other side of that is going to be the other tools that I've used. Like I said, I have some earplugs on there that I use. I have an acupressure mat. I have supplements that I took, or that I still take, and then working with a nutritional therapist, and also the hair tissue mineral analysis, which is basically they take your hair and they basically tell you, hey, you're low in this nutrient, you're high in this nutrient, and this is the changes in your diet and the diet or the supplements that you need to take. And that was life changing for me. It's like putting gas in your car when you need oil, right? So for me, I truly believe in an integrated approach. And that's why I wanted to share these tools with you. Yes, the work I do will change your life. But if you are in this like kind of stuck in fight or flight because you don't have the right nutritional like profile, or if you get like really bad like PMF symptoms like I was dealing with, or even like to the point of being like diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, which guys, I haven't had any autoimmune symptoms since I started taking the supplements that I take. So that's how powerful not only this work is, but also just having the right nutrients. And instead of guessing and just buying something on Amazon, actually doing the test to actually figure out, oh, I actually am high in this and low in this. So if you decide to upgrade and buy the full toolkit, then you'll have, I think I've linked 3 different practitioners on there, and you can actually just DM them on Instagram and say, hey, I'm interested. Like, I think all of their hair tissue mineral analysis options are in their link in bio, but you can also just DM them and say, hey, I'm interested in doing an hair tissue mineral analysis. I think they start at around $200 and then go up from there, but that includes the testing and then also a full report. I think with mine, I got like a 15-page report of, you're high in this, you're low in this, and this is how to navigate it from here. So you need to make these dietary changes and you need to take these supplements. So I hope this was helpful. And at the very least, just using bilateral stimulation anytime that you feel anxious or overwhelmed or stressed out, because when you start to do that, we call it a pattern interrupt. It will allow you to stop operating in that neural network and start creating a new neural network where you don't go into that trigger cycle of like, I'm anxious and now I'm feeling anxious that I'm anxious, and then I just go into like, panic mode and or freeze mode. So doing this will stop that in its tracks and start to help you create a new neural network. And then if you buy the full toolkit, you'll get my tapping training, which will actually help create that new neural network and reinforce it. And over time, instead of defaulting to anxiety or defaulting to stress, you'll create new neural networks where you default to maybe something like peace or joy or whatever it is that you want to install instead. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. And if you decide to upgrade and buy the full kit, like the nervous system toolkit, that's amazing. And if not, I just hope this deeply serves you.